welcome, Reverend Glenn.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here. Before I dig in, two quick notes. Number one, my neighbor is being extremely industrious this morning and pressure washing his driveway. He's been taking breaks periodically. He just shut down. Hopefully, he doesn't start up again. But if he does, you may get to enjoy that as much as I am. And secondly, two more birthdays this month. There are three, actually. One, my principal teacher, Dr. Arlene Bump, is celebrating today. I think she's old, uh, and Tuesday we'll be celebrating my mother's birthday. She's long passed, but we still mark the day. And later in the month, Mary and Joseph's little boy. We don't want to forget him. Uh,
No,
you'll
never.
probably be talking more about that later in the month. But
Yes. Okay, thank you.
all right. So uh,
Right.
so we are in December, and here in the northern hemisphere, we're nearing that point on the calendar where we mark the beginning of one more journey around the sun. We stow our carry-on bags in the overhead compartment, strap in, and pause for a moment to look around at what has just become our community by chance for the next few hours. 254 souls, each a mystery, a different story, a different road, but for now intertwined in one common journey. Each of these souls thinks it knows where it's going. Each has some expectation of how the next few hours will unfold. So, cue the Twilight Zone theme music here. David Rico, writing in Five True Things, says, life often does not proceed according to our plans, but this does not have to leave us crestfallen. It can make us excited that something divine may be afoot. I can pretty much guarantee the subject matter at many centers for spiritual living this month is highlighting this season of spiritual awakening. There will be metaphysical interpretations of the Christian birth of Jesus story and the Hebrew celebration of light in remembrance of the retaking of Jerusalem from the Greeks and the miracle of one day's supply of lamp oil lasting for 8 days. Both parallels to spiritual awakening are valid and important realizations for anyone evolving from or familiar with either of those two traditions. But we are all here today because we have already pushed ourselves out beyond traditional teachings about the power of spirit, embracing the very essence of spiritual power, our direct union with spiritual knowledge. We are already diverging from our traditional norms. We are taking a different road, a road that celebrates the endless influences that shape our lives and recognizes how our spiritual foundation flavors each experience. Ernest Holmes, writing in the Science of Mind textbook, says, we begin with instinct and travel all the way to intuition. In an earlier incarnation of my life, I spent a lot of time in our national parks. My favorite experience in the parks was the park ranger presentations where through the power of storytelling, the park's wonders and mysteries were peeled back, allowing their beauty and majesty to be joyously revealed. I was subconsciously infected with the storytelling bug, but because of the context, my conscious mind believed I wanted to be a park ranger. Holmes writes again that the quality in an animal that directs its actions and tells it where to go to find food and shelter we call instinct. It is really omniscience in the animal. Instinctively, I recognized there was something about the ranger experience that appealed to me. I loved geography, geology, and history. These are great subjects to build on to tell the stories of the national parks. I love the outdoors. Once entertained the idea of becoming a smoke jumper, and in my youth looked really good in uniform. Being a park ranger seemed like a natural calling. Holmes writes additionally, evil is an experience of the soul on its journey toward the realization of reality. Evil will remain a problem as long as we believe in it. Of itself, it is neither person, place, nor thing, and will disappear in the exact proportion that we seize using destructive methods. The evil on my journey was the stories about myself that I had embedded in my belief. The stories took me down thousands of roads, major highways of fear and doubt, backcountry trails of insecurity and insincerity. Detours, diversions, and unplanned turns drew me farther and farther away from my earlier expectations. Holmes writes again, intuition is God in man, revealing to him the realities of being. Through all the twisting, turning, and unscheduled bumps, my intuition rose above any appearance of evil, revealing the reality of my subconscious dream. My intuition, my drive, was never to be a park ranger. That's a lot of work. But was my desire to be a storyteller. Spirit has instilled in me the desire to share its story, to reveal for others the wonders and majesty of the universe, spirit, and our union with it. Holmes writes, man does not exist for the purpose of making an impression upon his environment. He does exist to express himself in and through his environment. The unplanned journey, the unexpected adventure, is the life we live while making other plans. Our choices along the way open unanticipated doors into an unforeseen wilderness where we are challenged again and again to rise above our self-imposed limits, building strength we would otherwise never have imagined possible. For me, it was a good friend reappearing in my life when I needed it most. Spirit brought us back together after I had pretty much forgotten about him. This story is for another day, but the short version is a radically different trajectory for my life, a whole new skill set, and much more enthusiastic outlook. We overcome apparent evil when we embrace our spiritual prime directive, to live. Live our life with full knowledge of our union with Spirit. Live with joy, love, and purpose. See spiritual beauty in everything. Create with reckless abandon. Dance like no one is watching. I recently listened to an old Paul Harvey Rest of the Story episode on YouTube. I'll briefly repeat it for you here. It was about an American priest and an American entertainer who were flying through Europe together back in the day of propeller-driven airliners. Among the other passengers were several small Swiss boarding school children heading home from a holiday outing in Italy. One of the four engines had quit, and a second was on fire. The snowy peaks of an unforgiving mountain range loomed ahead. Unrest was giving way to panic throughout the cabin as the reality of the situation set in. The priest unbuckled from his window seat, saying, "I guess it's time for me to comfort some of these people with last rites." The entertainer put his hand on the priest's shoulder, forcing him back into a seat. "I've got a better idea," he said, and moved into the aisle in full view of the children, where he started making funny faces and comical sounds that transcended all language barriers. Within seconds, the children were laughing and lost in the clownery. The adults around them embraced the new energy to the point that no one seemed to notice the mountain peak slipping past the airline's right wing as the pilots threaded the needle through a narrow pass, clearing the way for a bumpy but survivable landing in a meadow beyond. The entertainer was comedian Red Skelton, returning from an audience with the Pope. His actions that day may have changed nothing, or may have changed everything. Only our belief, our own understanding of spirit and how the universe works can influence how we interpret that story. I know how I see it. Some might say it was a miracle. I see it as the logical outcome of positive, loving energy displacing the appearance of evil in the form of fear and doubt. I see it as an unanticipated door opened into an unforeseen wilderness where the choice of one person to express pure spiritual joy and creativity may have altered the common consciousness just enough to move the mountain. Where one man was resigned to comfort others while accepting certain death, the other chose to embrace life and all its gifts, propelling the laughter of children into the extra energy required to put the airplane past the peak and into safety. You see here too that the airplane did not need to get over the mountain after all. It just needed to get past it. And that opened new roads of possibility. Have you ever spent time looking for something you knew was in a certain container or drawer, only to find it in something completely different than what you were looking for? Understanding spirit requires us to keep an open mind and be prepared to laugh at ourselves. We often think we know what our day will look like. We make plans, put our carry-on into the overhead, and strap in. I thought I wanted to be a park ranger. But what happens next is a roll of the dice. Whether we end the day splattered over a snowy peak or sitting peacefully in a lovely meadow depends on how strong we have built our spiritual foundation. 1,000 roads later, it turns out all I ever wanted to be was a storyteller. The force is strong with this one. What divine reality is afoot for you?